Hobby King's E-OSD is a simple, inexpensive on-screen display unit, ideally suited for lightweight platforms like mini quads, where you only want 1 or 2 voltages display and perhaps a flight timer. Unfortunately, its capabilities are fairly limited, and there have been several aftermarket firmware developments to improve the flexibility of it, CLOSD and UOSD. However, both of these have drawbacks. CLOSD, you can only make changes by compiling at compile time. UOSD has a GUI, but it still requires you to hook up an in-circuit programmer to the device. I've taken the CLOSD open source firmware and modified it with the following capabilities. With this firmware, you only have to attach the in-circuit programmer once and burn the firmware. From then on, everything is done via on-screen menus to set up the various parameters. You can display independently and selectively the battery voltage, RSSI percentage, and the flight timer. There is a low battery warning level on VBAT, and that is settable from the menu, as well as the RSSI min and max values. There is a fixed warning level of below 35% that will start flashing the RSSI. The VBAT display itself can be trimmed, since the E-OSD has no accessible trimming pots for the voltage, so you can get it very precise. This is also built into the firmware as an automatic 3S or 4S selection, so after you set the warning value for the cell voltage, it'll automatically detect on initial connection to the battery whether it's a 3S or 4S and calculate the correct warning values. All these settings are stored persistently in the EEPROM once you exit the setup menu. The setup menu is obtained by doing a long duration press on the button on the OSD. It'll bring you up the setup menu. The first item is the max RSSI. You see it's set now at 2.8 volts. You put the voltage on it, do a short press, and it'll reset it. The next item on the menu is obtained by another long press. It's the minimum RSSI. I'm going to do a short press and set it to 0 volts because nothing's connected to RSSI. The next menu item adjusts the warning voltage for the cells. It's at 3.2 by default. I've moved it up with a short press to 3.3. It goes 3.9 to 3.0. And here I'm changing the trim since there's no pots available for the displayed voltage. You'll see the voltage slowly going up, and then I can decrease the battery trim again on the next menu item if I want to. The final menu item with a long press to get to it will allow you to change what is displayed. I'm going from everything to just the timer, then the timer and RSSI, or the RSSI rather, then the timer and RSSI, voltage only, or all three in any combination, so it's easily set. Finally, a long press will exit the setup menu. Everything's been stored in EEPROM, so you can cycle power and it'll remain set at all those values that you just set up. Now I'll show you the auto voltage detection. I've connected a 3-cell pack. Remember, it was set to 3.3 volts for the battery warning value, and below 9.9 volts it'll begin to flash. Now connect a 4-cell. It should start flashing below 13.2 because we had set 3.3 volts.